Hey, this is Meredith Elliott Powell, and you know what time it is? It is time to thrive in uncertainty. I am super excited to be hosting today a good friend of mine and the person who can help us jolt and figure out how to tap into success today, Larry Long Jr. Larry, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Meredith. Can you hear me now? Just making sure that your listeners and viewers can hear me.
You are ready to go. All right, welcome once again to Thrive, turning uncertainty to competitive advantage, the show where we dive into the steps, everything that you need to know to shift how you think, feel, and act towards uncertainty. And today I've got with me a sales guru, a sales legend. Sales is really your area of expertise, but give our listeners just a little bit of background about you. I mean, how did you get into sales?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Meredith, and thank you so much for having me. It takes one to know one. You're a legend and a great of the industry. I didn't choose sales; sales chose me. My first foray into sales was knocking on doors, lawns by Larry, as a teenager, asking people if I could mow their lawn. But professionally, I started off at a company called SageWorks, making 150 cold calls, ice cold calls to CPA and accounting firms every day, 150 calls. That's a lot of calls, a lot of rejection, but also a lot of great success and being able to impact not just the accountants, but more importantly, their small business owners that they were tasked with serving. We provided a software platform that really helped them serve the business clients so that the business clients didn't end up like me, out of business. I had an indoor baseball and softball academy, and unfortunately, the numbers we knew, batting averages, home runs, stolen bases, they're not the numbers you need to run a successful business. Income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flows.
Yeah, so true. I mean, so many people who are in business today just really don't know the numbers that they need. I'm interested that you started out making cold calls. So, give us a little bit about your feeling around cold calling, and is it still a smart strategy today?
Some people ask, is cold calling alive? I
Yeah.
think, boom, boom. Yes, it should be as a part of your mix. If you're not picking up that 500-pound phone, I know it can get heavy. If
Yeah.
you're not reaching out and calling someone each and every day, Houston, we have a problem. Now, I wouldn't say cold calling is the only method that you're trying to connect with prospects, but it should be a part of your mix. Calls, emails, LinkedIn, which is my jam. 91% of my business last year came inbound via LinkedIn, publishing content, making great connections, leveraging referrals, as well as snail mail. When was the last time that you received something in the mail that was tailored, customized, personalized, a package? So I think that you should be hitting people from all avenues, because some people, they'll never pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Some people, they just hit delete on every email. Some people, you're only going to reach them through social or through word of mouth. So if you can cover all your bases, pardon the pun with the baseball analogies, but I did play at University of Maryland, go Terps. I think you're putting yourself in the best position to have success and to thrive.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I really think about that is so different about sales today is that you really do need a mix. I never really know what's working. So I need to try all different types of things. I mean, for a while, I'll be using email and people will respond to email. Then all of a sudden, email will just dry up. And all of a sudden, people will start answering the telephone again. I mean, one thing I really like about the telephone is I can get my energy across in the telephone. What about talk a little bit about your LinkedIn strategy? I love the fact that one, so much of your business came from there. Number two, I love the fact that that 91% of your business came from LinkedIn. So I want to talk about numbers and tracking and what people need to know today too. I want to talk about that as well.
Understanding your numbers. And for me, the more content that I produce and value added content, essentially, the better off. And I do a weekly live show as well.
Mhm.
But I would say one of the keys is really leveraging the one on one messaging. And on LinkedIn Mobile, you can send audio messages, like you said, the phone, your energy. You can send video messages where folks can actually see you, they can feel you, because people can smell BS from a mile away. They can tell whether you're passionate and you care about them, or whether you're a me monster and you got commission breath and you only care about you, as well as funny GIFs. I like to have my personality shine through. I know that you're a bona fide golfer. I know that
Yeah.
you're an excellent outdoors woman. So I'm going to send you a funny GIF to make you chuckle. Who doesn't like to work with someone that makes them chuckle, makes them laugh, in addition to adding value? So my LinkedIn strategy, it's a content strategy, it's a connection strategy, and it's letting my true authentic self, it's letting Larry Long Jr. in all its iterations shine through brightly so that people know not only will I deliver value, but I'm going to do it with a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of flair.
So, what do you think some of the biggest challenges that, gosh, I mean, I look at this world a couple of years ago and when COVID hit, and our biggest challenge was we had to sell virtually. Now I look at the level of uncertainty that has hit the marketplace. I mean, we have whether we're in a recession, not in a recession. I mean, who really cares what they label it? Everybody's feeling the pain. You still have these looming supply chain issues, which are getting more and more, more and more challenging. We have gas prices that go up, gas prices that go down. Just in general, it seems to be a more uncertain and a more complicated market. So, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing sales professionals really face today?
Yeah, I can tell you from a sales leadership perspective, do we come into the office? Are we 100% in person? Are we 100% remote? Are we hybrid? And what does that mean? What's best for our clients? What's best for our employees? What's best for our organization? And how do we balance those various different? It's so complex that you have all these various inputs. I don't know if there's one solid answer. I don't think that there's one answer, one size fits all. So you've got all this stuff that's going on, the economy, mental health. That's a
Yeah.
huge. How do you make sure that you take care of your people at their core so that they can take care of the business? They can have that ownership. There's so many moving parts right now. To be a leader, it really requires you to be decisive. And in addition to being decisive, to also be flexible, to
Mhm.
be able to iterate, to test, to pivot. I know that we're all tired of hearing that word
Yeah.
pivot, but you really do have to adjust and adapt as things go on. It's not that steady state. I don't know if we've ever been at a steady state, but now things are changing so quickly that you have to stay ahead of the game and have that foresight, have that vision, be solid in your values. I read your book, Meredith.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're really covering the basics.
Yeah. Well, speaking of books, I mean, let's talk about your book, Jolt. Now, if I'm correct, is this your first book?
It's my
I
first solo book. I co-authored a chapter in a book before that was called The Little Things Are Really the Big Things. They didn't let
Uh-huh.
me say things. They said, if you want to talk like that, write your own book. But this is my first solo book.
I thought so. I thought so. So, tell where did the idea come from? It seemed to me like this is sort of a culmination when I read it of a lot of the work that you had done, a lot of your philosophy and a lot of your belief. Is that correct?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the pandemic, I started a midweek midday motivational minute. And now I'm at 120 plus episodes. Every Wednesday at 12 noon, we go live to provide a word of positivity, to provide some inspiration, some motivation, some transformation. And I met a book consultant who said, you need to tell your story. I said, you don't hear me? I tell it every week. She said, no, you need to tell it in writing. I said, well, who would have thunk it? Larry Long Jr. doesn't write very well. She said, I can help. So my book is really 7 of my most meaningful topics that I covered in my midweek midday motivational minute. Just to give you a little sampling, chapter
Yeah.
1, what story are you telling yourself and believing? That self-talk is so important. There's a chapter about sales. What's your definition of sales? Because we're all in sales, regardless of what your title says. We're all selling.
Yeah.
And how can you use that to your advantage? And then the one that I really love, the chapter about lessons from my father. In
Yeah.
addition to that, you are what you consume. And you ask what time it is. I say it's bow time. I love Bojangles, but really you are what you consume. What books, what podcasts, what LinkedIn lives are you listening to, as well as what people are you surrounding yourself with? Do they uplift you? And I don't know if you can tell I'm feeling great. I just came out of a coaching session with my coach, Coach Kristen Frade. Or do they bring you down? Oh, ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so much of the people that you surround yourself with, what you feed your mind. I'm really fascinated by how much, one of the challenges, and I think with sales too, is we feel out of control. I mean, the customer gets to decide when they're going to buy. We deal with a lot of rejection, but how you set your mind and what you feed it and what you take in really you have a lot of control even in the most uncertain environment if you can control who you surround yourself with, what you listen to, what you take in, what you take into your brain. So what are some of the things now? I want to back up though. You started out with a lawn care service when you were a kid. How old?
12 years old, Lawns
12.
by Larry. My mom made a flyer and told me to go knock on doors. I said, no. She said, what's the worst someone can say? I said, no. She said, is it really that bad? I said, yes. And I got to give props to my mom. Her birthday was yesterday. I love you, Mama. Desiree Long. That was one of the best gifts she could have given me. That encouragement. Hercules, go out there, knock on doors, and just speak with people. See if you can help them with their lawn care, mowing their lawn care services. And she was right. Mother knows best. Folks said, yes, I would love to have you mow my lawn and I'll pay you. Win, win, win.
Yeah, I think let's talk a little bit. I think it's so important to get out there and deal with rejection. I mean, in your book, you talk about your definition of sales. And I love that whole piece on that because I think, me included, and it sounds like you started out there too, with this bad definition of being rejected. Like, and I understand. I mean, rejection doesn't feel good, but I think rejection is you didn't provide enough information, enough value, or enough reason for me to want to pull the trigger now. So it just means no right now. It doesn't mean no forever. What are some of your pieces of advice or your suggestions for how people first frame rejection, then how they deal with rejection?
You said the magic word, no. And I wasn't very good at spelling, but when I think of no, I think of KNOW. People
I
just
love
don't
that.
know enough to be able to make that decision to say yes. Sales, I believe, it's playing matchmaker. You're matching whatever you have, a product, a service, a thought or idea, with someone else's needs, their wants, desires, challenges. And you've got to ask questions to see if you're able to match that. So it really is about that mindset, that perspective that if you're here to help, you're here to serve someone else, and you don't have that commission breath where you're just focused on you're focused on them, you're going to have a lot of success. Now, are you going to experience failure? For sure. One of my chapters is strikeouts. They're a part of life. They're a part of sales. But I learned from the great John Barrows that the key to any sales ill is a big fat pipeline. If you can fill that top of funnel, guess what? Now you're relaxing. You're not putting so much pressure on prospects. And I think sales gets a bad name from those pressure tactics. Ready to do a deal? No. I came in for ankle surgery and you're trying to give me shoulder surgery. You didn't listen to anything that I
Yeah.
said. I don't trust you. And that's why I have a negative connotation when it comes to sales professionals. If you do it the right way, where people can tell that you care about them, serving them, what's in their best interest, it's amazing how things work out in the long run. Oftentimes we focus on that short run instead of the long run vision, that we miss it and we really put a bad name on sales. Sales is not a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
It'll make you say some 4-letter words every now and again, but it's such a beautiful thing from my perspective.
Yeah, where do you think it went off track? Why do you think it got such a bad rap?
There's some bad actors out there,
Yeah,
just
that's
like in
true.
any industry. But when you look at some of the movies that portray it, Glengarry Glen Ross, ABC, always be closing, Ada, no, it's ABH, always be helping. I look at some of the best sales professionals come out of education. They're used to serving kindergartners, fourth graders, seventh graders. They're used to putting someone else's needs in front of theirs. People ask me, in order to be successful in sales, Larry, do I need to be an extrovert? Oh, no, no, no.
Yeah.
Some of the best sales professionals I've seen are introverts, and they ask questions. They're naturally curious. They actually have the give a damn factor, pardon my French, parlez-vous français, but they actually care about other people, and that shines bright. It shines through. So I'm really on a mission to help change the narrative, to help flip the script of how we view sales.
Yeah. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you're seeing in your business right now?
Yeah, it's growth. Right now, I have 3 employees, Meredith, me,
Oh,
myself, and I. And essentially, I do it all. And I realize that I can't. I think they say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others.
yeah.
I have a tough time letting go. And I'm working through it with my coach, working through my mindset, because she said, "Hey, Larry, I know that you think you can do everything the best. What if there's someone out there that can do it better than you?" I said, whoa, mind blown. So
Yeah.
I'm exploring how can I grow and scale without multiplying myself, but bringing on a team to really help me expand my reach and to positively touch more people, more organizations as we go on. Essentially, it's building an organization instead of just being me, myself, and Irene.
So you talked a little bit about your mother's influence, but you really talked a lot in the book about your father. Share some of that, the influence, his background, some of the things that he did, and why he was such an impact on you from a sales perspective.
You're gonna make me tear up. My father grew up in the projects in the hood of Baltimore City. Only one from his family to graduate high school. Shorty Long was his nickname. 5'7", and that's rounding up. Long jumper and triple jumper at University of Maryland. But he just taught me so much through his actions. He didn't. He was the man. He was a man of very few words. I must get my mouthiness
Yeah.
from my mama. But just the really the importance of family, the importance of faith, the importance of serving others. He worked for Department of Veterans Affairs, serving our veterans, and just doing it with, I wouldn't even say a glass half full attitude. He had a glass 100% full attitude. And it wasn't, he didn't put his blinders on that there's bad things, but he made a choice. He was intentional to look for the good, the great, and the wonderful in every situation, and being able to be in that environment, being able to witness that day in and day out, it just had a huge impact on who I am today. And it's my responsibility to pass that along to my family, to my
Yeah.
friends, my colleagues, and to the world. And that's what really drives me. 7% of all my revenues go to essentially a little kitty. We're gonna create a nonprofit for the Shorty Long Foundation,
Oh, that's great.
supporting inner city youth that want to go on and pursue higher education, but need the funding to assist them. And that's just my give back in my father's name to pass along to others that are truly deserving, but don't have the same opportunities as everyone else. We're really going to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's an incredible story. And again, once again, we're back to the power of the mindset that what you feed it can really, I mean, to overcome those level of, those challenges, those level of obstacles in order. What are some things that you do to level set your mindset on a regular basis?
I love it. Well, I've got a wife that keeps me grounded. She doesn't let my head get big. Even though I do have a big head, she pops that thing. She pops it regularly. My children, and really focusing on my why. I'm big in gratitude. And
Mm,
it's really the little things are the big things. When you think about nature, when you think about your health, just the fact that we're speaking now is a blessing, Meredith, and
mhm.
being able to pass that along to others, that's what gives me life. I also focus on self-care because I've been out there giving, looking in the mirror and saying, Larry, you're on E. You can't give anymore, else you're gonna really put yourself in a bad situation health-wise. Being mindful of what I'm eating. And I love to eat. If you say you are what you eat, I'm a fried chicken from Bojangles, but really being mindful of what you put in is what you're going to get out. So I love watching YouTube, listening to music, watching motivate Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Eric Thomas. The list goes on and on. The algorithm works. You watch one and it says, oh, you should check this one out. You should check this one out. It's like, whoa, where did that 25 minutes go? I'm watching all this motivation. I'm feeling good. Now it's time for me to get out there and do something.
Yeah, time to get out there and take action. Well, speaking of time, it is hard to believe, but we are about to the end of this show, and I always like to close down with two questions, and you can answer them in either order. Number one, of course, is how do people find you? How do they get a hold of you when they want more of you? They want to order your book, Jolt, which I highly recommend. It is a quick read, but a really meaningful read. You really put together a really great book. I particularly love the section on your father. Those lessons there are really, really powerful. And then, what is your biggest advice to those listening to us, whether they're in sales, whether they own a business, if they want to turn uncertainty into competitive advantage? What advice does Larry Long Jr. have for them?
So I'm going to start with that. The advice that I have is believe in you. You are enough. Forget about what the other voices say, including that voice in your own head. That's fake news right there. Don't believe the hype. And I'm here to tell you, gold mic and all, you are enough. You've got greatness inside of you. Step into that greatness. Don't do it alone. Go ahead and find a team, find an A team, find mentors, guides, coaches that can support you, but you can make it happen. And I'm confident you will. Now you got to do it. Where can you reach me? You can find me on LinkedIn, Larry Long Jr. I got the smile for a mile. I got the face for radio. Would love to connect with you, help you in any way that I can. Feel free to check out my website, LarryLongJr.com. That's JR. And you can find Jolt on Amazon. We would love to support you. Thank you so much, Meridith.
Thank you. You have been awesome. We'll make sure that the access to Jolt is in the show note, as well as check out LarryLongJr.com. I highly recommend it. If for nothing more, your jolt of energy on a regular basis, but really, you've got some really strong gems in the book. And I need to check out your Wednesday motivation. I haven't tapped into that yet, so I need to do that as well. But again, Larry, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you to all of our listeners for another episode of Thrive. And together, we're going to turn all of this uncertainty into your greatest competitive advantage.